Greetings, fellow Star Trek fans. Got a quick question for you. Would any of you watch a show that is a spy thriller like James Bond but has Star Trek technology? Well, replicate yourself a new code name because that show is the topic for today's episode of Lost Trek. Greetings, e como mai and Noonien to my fellow Star Trek fans. I'm Captain Kanaka, the Trek historian, and I'd like to welcome you all to the first ever episode of Lost Trek. The purpose of this show is to go across the space-time continuum to examine all the possible spin-off shows, episodes, and even movies that were planned for the Star Trek universe, but lost their way from the studio to the audience. We will finish every episode in which we travel across the multiverse to postulate how this project would have affected the Star Trek universe if it were actually made. So in today's episode, we are going to explore the first ever Star Trek spin-off entitled 7. So let me set the incursion drive as we go back to the early years of the Star Trek universe, 1968. Engage. Whew, that was kind of psychedelic. So here we are. It is the second season of the original series, and things are kind of bad. Despite premiering several of the original series' most iconic episodes like Amok Time, Mirror Mirror, and TV classic The Trouble with Tribbles, Star Trek is once again on the brink of cancellation. For the second time in 2 seasons, the voyages of the U.S.S. Enterprise were almost torpedoed by studio executives misinterpreting the consistently solid but comparatively lower ratings the show had earned itself. The Enterprise had dodged the cancellation death ray during the first season with some strong PR strategies from Roddenberry and the fact that the show's color broadcast helped boost sales for NBC's parent company, RCA, which sold color television sets. But none of that could help Captain Kirk, Mr. Spock, and the intrepid crew of the Enterprise now, as they had to come up with a new set of strategies for it to escape the gravitational pull of cancellation. So Gene Roddenberry, the great bird of the galaxy himself, set out with a 2-prong approach to save his universe. For starters, he planned 2 spin-off shows to continue expanding his universe. Roddenberry also coordinated plans with Star Trek superfans Bijou and John Trimble to bombard NBC executives with more letters than there were Tribbles in Trouble with Tribbles. Between the 2 spin-off shows Roddenberry planned, one of them was developed into an actual episode that served as a backdoor pilot during Star Trek The Original Series Season 2 finale. Assignment Earth tells the story of secret agent Gary 7, a human who was abducted by aliens countless years earlier and is sent back to Earth in the 1960s to, well, let me have him explain what he's supposed to do.
To prevent Earth's civilization from destroying itself before it can mature into a peaceful society.
Wow, no pressure. In both of Roddenberry's spin-offs, the goal was to transplant Star Trek-style themes and storytelling to the landscape of other television genres. And in the mid-1960s, there wasn't any other genre more popular than secret agent adventures. With the booming success of Bond, James Bond, and his adventures, Hollywood was churning out spy thrillers left and right, from The Man from U.S.S. to Mission Impossible, to I Spy, to Get Smart, and so many others. In this landscape, Gary 7, along with his sidekicks Roberta Lincoln and ISIS, no, not that one. Okay, you're getting closer. No, that's the one right there. That's ISIS. All 3 of them would come together to save the world from all the bad things that could befall planet Earth. They have a really tall order, folks. Let's let Mr. Spock explain what's going on there.
There will be an important assassination today. An equally dangerous government coup in Asia. And this could be highly critical. The launching of an orbital nuclear warhead platform by the United States, countering a similar launch by other powers.
Whew, that is a really tall order. But when you're armed with a bank vault that doubles as a transporter, a telepathic fountain pen, and a Q branch that can give you anything except catchphrases, you definitely got a chance to surmount those odds. The 1965 origin of this show, simply entitled 7, had no connection to the Star Trek universe whatsoever. But in 1968, it would serve as a possible spin-off in which the crew of the Starship Enterprise and other members from the 23rd century could come by and visit and help Gary 7, well, how did you put it, Roberta Lincoln?
We wonder if we're going to be alive when we're 30.
So, during the Season 2 finale of the original series, Gene Roddenberry and Art Wallace's script took the airwaves, serving as a springboard for a new show that would keep the ideas of the Federation alive. You even see Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock handing the torch to Gary Seven, Roberta Lincoln, and Isis in the final scene of that episode. Let's watch.
Captain, we could say that Mr. Seven and Miss Lincoln have some interesting experiences in store for them.
Yes, I think we could say that.
Live long and prosper, Mr. Seven.
The same to you, Miss Lincoln. Energize.
Except that didn't happen. At least not in our universe, and this is why. For starters, the studio wasn't really interested in developing Assignment Earth. More importantly, however, Roddenberry's other gambit worked. Through the work of Bjo and John Trimble, NBC executives caved in and greenlit Star Trek for a third season. This, however, would be a hollow victory. With even more budget cuts than before and being assigned the absolute worst time slot in primetime television, Star Trek was canceled for good in 1969. The final insult to injury was having Star Trek fans endure Season 3 classic episodes like Spock's Brain.
His brain is gone. His brain is missing. In search of his brain, Doctor.
Now, ordinarily, that would be where the story ends, but on this show, we get to dig a little bit deeper into the fabric of the space-time continuum as we travel across the multiverse. This is the part of the episode where we construct a parallel universe in which this project was greenlighted to determine how this would-be spin-off would have affected the space-time continuum of Star Trek. Let me get my controls here and beam up my prediction for this show. Captain Kanaka, the Trek historian, gives this spin-off 1 to 2 seasons before cancellation. Although spy thrillers were all the rage in the mid-1960s, the rising unpopularity of the Vietnam War and the rising counterculture significantly curbed the popularity of secret agents. We can see this with shows like The Man from U.N.C.L.E., I Spy, and even Mission Impossible, all wrapping production by either the end of the 1960s or the early 1970s. Folks, not even James Bond himself was immune from the hippie craze of the late 1960s, and we can see that with the box office returns of On Her Majesty's Secret Service and Diamonds Are Forever, and also the short-lived career of George Lazenby. Lazenby, never go full hippie. I love you, Lazenby, but just never go full hippie. But I digress. Back to Star Trek. Since the Assignment Earth backdoor pilot was released in 1968, the earliest the show would have actually debuted would be 1969, right when the spy craze was coming to an end, therefore making it too little, too late. In all honesty, though, I think what gives Star Trek VII the opportunity to go 2 seasons instead of 1 is its ability to blend the best of the Star Trek universe with the best of the James Bond universe. For example, when you dig really deep into the topic, you take a look at agents that could be multicultural, just like the crew of the Starship Enterprise. For example, in Assignment Earth, there is a specific mention of other code-named agents living on planet Earth.
Specify locations of agents 201 and 347.
We don't know their race or gender, but given the fact that Star Trek is so progressive in the 1960s, there's a pretty good chance that these operatives are multicultural, just like the crew of the Starship Enterprise. Additionally, just like in the James Bond universe, the big bad of Seven is not the Soviet Union, it's not the communists, but rather a time-traveling alien race known as the Omegans. Just like Spectre, James Bond's rogue galleries, this organization would be responsible for undermining Earth history and Earth politics to prevent humanity from advancing to a peaceful future. That kind of concept is interesting. And that interesting blend of tropes is what would give Seven the staying power to go beyond a single season. I don't see it going beyond a second season, though, and I'm curious to see what you think. Also, if you're interested in seeing Gary Seven and Roberta Lincoln go on more spy adventures, there is a really interesting spy novel written by Greg Cox dealing with Gary Seven's connection to the rise of Khan Noonien Signh. Highly recommended. I guess if there were any kind of silver lining at all to an Assignment Earth spinoff, the presence of a show in which Earthbound secret agents affect global politics might have given Roddenberry enough leverage to pressure Paramount to make his version of Star Trek II. But instead of having Admiral Kirk battle old enemies, learning how to lose, and coming to terms with a very long paternity suit, Roddenberry's version of Star Trek II would have had the crew of the Enterprise travel back in time to prevent the JFK assassination. I guess that's another Lost Trek. So what do you think, everybody? Would you watch a James Bond meets Star Trek style spy show? Or are you convinced that the mission of pulling off this kind of spin-off would be impossible? Alright, I'll see myself out. Either way, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below, including if you have any other ideas for Lost Trek episodes. Until our next episode, I'm going back to the superposition to improve my secret agent catchphrases. Live long and prosper, everybody. Hey everybody, hope you enjoyed that video. With that in mind, if you have an idea for another journey through the space-time continuum, please let me know in the comments. The interesting thing about time is you can go in many different directions, forwards, backwards, and sideways in time. So, let me know in the comments what course you want us to plot, and we will go there. Either in the next video, or a couple videos from now. Either way, glad to have you aboard. So, live long and prosper, e malama pono, that's Hawaiian for be safe, be healthy, and see you next time.